All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. NFL DFS picks, lineup advice, FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo for the Saturday two-game slate, January 8th. Kansas City and Denver, Dallas and Philadelphia. No daily plugs on these two gamers, these Saturday off slates. But we're here to do this video for you, about 10 minutes, run you through the slate, implications, what teams are playing for, COVID situations, injuries, players that are resting. Final week of the regular season, that's always an issue, so we'll walk through that. Talk about the strategies for this game. Very interesting slate. You know me, I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. You know Jack, architect of the lineup builder, owner of dfsMagic. Jack, what's up, man?
Morning, Brian. Back for more two gamers. I'd say we're getting good at this, but this one is a whole different animal, as we'll get into.
Man, it is a tough one and a very interesting one if you're okay with the risk, and we'll talk about that here in a second. If you have questions about today's slate, we're recording this at 9 a.m. Eastern, so it only gives 7.5 hours or so before the slate locks. Plenty enough time for you to digest it. However, if you have questions, you can always comment on the video. We'll try to get back to you, but your best bet is to join our Discord server, and we're always in there all day. So click the join button below the video, get access to that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're doing a 3K subscriber giveaway next week, and if you like the content, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. So let's jump right into it. Kansas City and Denver. Kansas City is playing for the 1 seed potentially. They need to win. Tennessee needs to lose. Denver just trying to play spoiler. Vic Fangio strikes me as the type of coach that will try in this situation. So I think we'll see their starters play normal amounts. Dallas and Philadelphia is where it gets interesting, Jack, because we have no definitive reports yet, but it sounds like Philly's going to rest their guys and Dallas could rest their guys.
Yes, Brian. I mean, the struggle we're going to have is, as of we're recording this, we don't get anything nice and official from teams, and I don't think we're going to. Right? Coaches like to keep up this vision of we're going to play to win and try hard, but we all kind of know, and especially Brian, when we get into the COVID, Eagles have a lot of issues going on that might prompt them to rest some other guys.
Absolutely. And if you read The Athletic, which obviously is a great resource during the NFL season, the beat reporters, on the Dallas side, they're reporting that Mike McCarthy is saying that they're going to play to win, they're going to play their starters. They talked to Jerry Jones. He said we're playing to win, we're going to play our starters. Again, doesn't say we're going to finish with our starters. It just means we're going to play our starters. And on the Philadelphia side, basically every beat reporter is saying that Philadelphia's not going to play any of their key guys. So let's just start really quickly with the injuries and absences. And on the Kansas City and Denver game, Jack, we actually don't have too much to worry about because Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still out, so Darrell Williams will be the starter. And on Denver, just their cornerback, Patrick Surtain, is out. And that's it.
Yeah, Brian. I mean, this one for once, from a COVID and injury perspective, is pretty clear cut. And like you said, given that we know that the starters are going to play with pretty high confidence, we know who's going to play. Unfortunately, the field also knows who's going to play, and we see that in some of the ownerships we have for the Kansas City players.
Yeah, dude. So if you look right now, I have the lineup builder up, projected ownership, our projections. And if you look, 6 Chiefs are in the top 10 for projected ownership. Tyreek, Darrell Williams, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Byron Pringle, Chiefs defense. Insane on a 2-game slate to see that. Now, if we go to the Dallas and Philly side, this is what we know as of now. And I don't know if we'll actually get news before the first game starts. Maybe news will start to trickle out throughout the day. Maybe once pregame reports start coming in, we'll get it. But the game already started, and people's lineups will already be in, I think. We'll see. Well, again, we'll monitor national reports this morning. But on the Dallas side, Tony Pollard didn't make the trip. He's out. Michael Gallup obviously hurt his ACL last week. He is out. Cedric Wilson will take his place. Cornerbacks Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown are both out. Top 2 corners for Dallas are out. Their strong safety, Jaron Kearse, is out. Micah Parsons is out. He's on the COVID list. So that's a bunch of their defenders already out. So missing some starters on defense, missing Pollard, Gallup on offense, some key pieces. Philadelphia side, we have Boston Scott and Jordan Howard on the COVID list. Miles Sanders is out with that hand injury. That just leaves Kenneth Gainwell and Kerryon Johnson off the practice squad. Now, these guys, again, because of the Saturday rules, Boston Scott and Jordan Howard can be activated. Beat reporters don't think it's going to happen. Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, the 2 tight ends, are on the COVID list. That leaves Tyree Jackson, our preseason hero that we had back in August. They have some defensive starters on the COVID list. And then, Jack, beat reporters think that Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith are candidates to sit and just rest the entire game and not even start. So I guess let's just think about this game for a second. What do you think is the most likely outcome?
Yeah, I think you hit the key ones really nicely there. I think let's start with Philly because it actually seems a little more clear. Hurts obviously has been nursing an injury a little bit. with the Eagles dealing with so much COVID, and again they have nothing to gain really from winning a game here. That they could slightly improve their seeding maybe, but I actually don't even know. I think maybe Dallas is the only one that could. So we think Philly probably sits their key guys, and that opens up playing time for some key backups. The other point about whether or not we're going to get notified, it's probably pretty likely that guys like Hurts and Devontae might be active. They just won't play. So that's gets to your point of we might not get definitive information until it's like pregame warmups and beat writers can actually see who's taking first team reps. What are your thoughts on the ownership for Eagles kind of key guys that we might see play in this game?
So right now, we just updated ownership right before we went live. So let me pull up the Philadelphia side of things. And if we look as far as highest to lowest projected, we have Kenneth Gainwell nearly 50%, maybe more if once 4 o'clock hits and those guys aren't activated. Eagles D, Quez Watkins, everybody else below 10%. So I mean, if backups play, there are a lot of options here, especially against Dallas's backup. So I think from a high level, this is how you look at the slate. First, I think the very first point we're going to make is it is a difficult slate. The chalk is likely going to hit. There's no shame in sitting out this slate. But Jack, I got to say, if you're a high-risk player and you're okay with literally returning 0 of your money, there's some angles here to play that, and if you 20 max, 150 max, and you play some of these angles, and you look at your DraftKings app, all those clusters of lineups are either going to be all the way to the left or all the way to the right because the ownership is so concentrated on the Kansas City stacks. I mean, if you run optimal lineups, generally we talk about what? If you watched our 2-game videos before here, we talk about on-slot lineups, 4-2 stacks, maybe even 5-1 stacks on these slates. That's the chalk. Like, the field is going to play that on the Kansas City side, Jack. So anything but that is incredibly risky, but maybe incredibly profitable.
Yeah, it almost kind of becomes a showdown mentality here, where there's a mega chalk player, and if that guy doesn't hit, it opens up any number of possibilities. And in this case, instead of a player, it's a team. But getting back to what you said about ownership, I mean, the 4 highest owned projected players we have are Kansas City, and if you think about who they are, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, Williams, are all 4 of those guys going to have a ceiling performance? I mean, it could happen, but Denver has played them tough over the years. If they get up, they've shown a more of a willingness to run the ball, play defense. So, Brian, I think we don't have to entirely fade all the Kansas City chalk, but maybe we just pick out a couple of those players per lineup and play into that other game.
I totally agree. So let's just rank this, right? So from the chalk perspective, right? Cash, small field contest. I think the top option, Jack, is play 4+ Chiefs. Bring it back with at least 1 Bronco, probably 2, I would say, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the 4x2 is a strong move for that. And then I think for cash, I think you kind of nailed it. Pick out Kenneth Gainwell is a mega chalk guy that we think is going to play because he's literally the only healthy running back on that roster. And you can round it out with some values. And then I think for small field, start there. Maybe get different in one spot. Maybe you look at an Eagles backup receiver that might play a lot of snaps instead of Gainwell, something like that. But Brian, for large field, that's kind of where it gets interesting with our pivot here with maybe Minshew.
So that's what I'm thinking. So I think everything points to Minshew starting this game. And we don't have a ton of ownership projected for him. Most industry sites don't have a ton of ownership projected for him because a lot of sites out there are splitting the points between Hurts and Minshew, which means neither one's going to get a ton of ownership unless we get definitive word, obviously, before 4:30. So the key question here, Jack, is do we play Minshew with a bunch of Kansas City players and just basically save the salary of Minshew in an effort to either fit those guys in? But, there's no real salary issues today, FanDuel and DraftKings. Like, it's easy to fit in whoever you want. The big question is, can a Philadelphia game stack outscore a Kansas City stack? And I think there are multiple paths to that, right? We've seen Minshew ball out before. He's playing against backups. Kansas City could, like you said, run the ball in the second half or just underperform against a tougher defense in Denver. So to me, the high-risk approach is some sort of Philadelphia game stack or at least a Philadelphia stack. And you have to hope that they outscore Kansas City. How often does that happen? I don't know, 5%, 10%? How often is the field going to do it? Less than that.
Yep, absolutely. Getting back to how many Eagles and do you game stack, I think the one game or the one team we haven't talked about yet really is Dallas, so we probably should spend a minute on that. So Brian, let's say I want to build, Minshew stacks and I play Gainwell and I play, Quez Watkins, Jalen Rager, maybe Tyree Jackson, the tight end who lit it up in the preseason. Who are you looking at for at least one, maybe two run backs in that Dallas game if I'm playing for the, backup, that game is the highest scoring game?
So here's the thing, right? Like if that hits at 0.1% combined ownership in a 4-man Eagle stack or whatever, you don't have to be perfect with the rest of your lineup. We may see the non-optimal win in GPP. So you can play a high floor guy like CD Lamb, right? Maybe he plays the first half and he catches a touchdown, scores 10, 12 DraftKings points. That might be enough, right? But the two guys I like here the most that are going to play in any game script are Cedric Wilson, who's going to be the wide receiver 3 with the Gallup out, and even if they rest Cooper, they rest CD Lamb in the second half or earlier, Cedric Wilson's still going to play, right? They don't have it. It's not like a preseason where they can just run like wide receiver 8s and 9s. Cedric Wilson's still going to have to play. And then Corey Clement with Tony Pollard out. Clement, we've seen before when Pollard was out, gets the running back 2 role. They don't change it up much. He gets 8 to 10 touches. Now all of a sudden Zeke rests in the second half. Clement has 15 touch upside. So I think Wilson and Clement both have high floors and high ceilings, no matter what Dallas decides to do with their resting situation.
Yep, I think you hit it on the head. That makes a lot of sense. Wilson's gonna get the most run. He honestly probably has a pretty high ceiling in this game, regardless of how they play it. Yeah, and I think that's about it. What about Dalton Schultz? You think he gets a lot of run? Do they even have anyone else they would run out there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could go Sprinkle and McKeon in the second half, right? They do have 3 tight ends on the roster, so they could rest them. I mean, so we have to consider this scenario. Do you think Dallas plays starters the whole time? Like, is that how? If you had to put a percentage on it, they play the whole game. They're losers. They don't. They want to play to win this game.
I don't. I think I've been trying to listen to as a Packer fan, I was trying to listen to how the players talk about the approach this week and kind of what they said, and it makes sense why coaches do this. Is like if they know on Monday they're not playing, they just it's easy to tune out, right, for the whole week. But like if you kind of keep up the illusion that your guys are going to play, it at least helps you prepare and like get in game shape and everything. So yeah, there's no reason why Dallas would play all their starters in this game, and they don't really have much to gain. So yeah, I'm with you. I think you hit it on the head. Play the guys that, whether it's a backup script or even, if they play normally for a half, they're still going to get a lot of touches. Wilson and Clement for sure.
Oh man, this is a tough slate. So have you decided what you're going to do yet? You're gonna 150 today?
I'm in, dude. I'm in for Minshew. This put me over the edge. I think you help them talking through the Dallas guys to run it back with. And also, I think Denver's a bad team. Drew Lock is probably the worst. I don't know. He's got to be a bottom 5 quarterback that's played significant snaps, and the field's going to play, 2 Broncos in lineups. I mean, I'd much rather play the Dallas guys and Philly guys we just talked about, and maybe you don't even need the Philly Dallas guys to outscore Chiefs. Maybe you just need them to outscore those crappy Broncos players getting quarterbacked by Drew Lock.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So, I mean, all these guys that are lower in salary, we haven't talked about total salary yet. I mean, there's a slate, right, where salary likely doesn't matter. How low do you think we can go? How much can we realistically leave on the table? And I guess my question to that is, like, if you leave that much salary, you still probably want the studs, right? Tyreek and or Kelsey and or Darrell Williams. Because, I mean, people have to score. You can't just play all scrubs.
Yeah, I think it kind of gets into I don't have a number for people, but I think it gets into more, once you build a lineup, kind of look at who you could swap up to and ask yourself, can player X outscore player Y? And then, getting to your point about the Chiefs, like you're going to want some Chiefs chalk. I mean, one of those guys, Tyreek Hill, Darrell Williams, Travis Kelsey is most likely going to do well, right? So if you have lineups with none of those guys, that's just probably too high risk. To your point, if an Eagles game stack hits, you don't need a perfect lineup. You should just be, round it out with high floor guys like that.
Yeah, because like Darrell, Tyreek, Kelsey, they're likely going to score 8+ points, 10+, maybe some 15, right? Like that's enough to supplement whatever game stack you do. You're just hoping that the Eagles guys outscore them, and the Kansas City game stack isn't optimal in this high risk scenario.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, so that'll do it for this video. Again, we appreciate you listening. Very high risk slate. Just keep your allocation in check. Understand the risk reward outcomes for this slate. Follow us on Twitter at Jax at DFS_Magic_ I'm at Brian Jester FF. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when we go live. Upload these 2-game videos, any other videos. Holler at us in Discord all day. OccupyFantasy.com/Discord will be in there answering your questions. Very tricky slate. So I know you have questions. Hit us up. We're happy to answer them. So for Jack, I'm Brian. Appreciate you listening, and good luck today.